Okay, so my next part of my talk is why become a mechanical engineer? Or why even become an engineer in general? Here at Wilkes, we offer several disciplines of engineering. We currently have mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, environmental engineering. We are pursuing creating new programs in civil engineering and material science engineering, but I could speak mostly to mechanical engineering because that is my career in the department I teach in. But I'd be equally as happy as if you choose one of these other engineering programs we have at Wilkes. I think they're all great programs. Think of what an average person would consider a high-paying profession. Yes, the average person down the street, and they're like, "Oh yeah, medical doctor, lawyer, some along the lines." But maybe people don't realize that the engineers get paid really well, actually. The 2014 median salary for mechanical engineers nationwide is $83,000. So that's not too shabby. Starting off, students can expect maybe 60,000 around that, maybe lower, maybe higher. And then by your mid-career or even as a senior engineer, you could be making 80, 90, and you can even be making six figures, truly. So the great earning potential. I know, not to get off another little tangent, but it's kind of what I do. I know there's a lot of debate now as to whether college is worthwhile, right? Like, well, if you went just to be a roofer right out of high school, you can make money right off the bat. Where in college, you have to take out a loan first. That's true, but look at the earning potential working as an engineer versus working in a manual labor position, and you easily would pay off, that college loan off in maybe 5 years, 10 years, and then from then on, you're making even more money, and you're not breaking your back truly. So something to consider. How about the job potential? What it pays is one thing, but hey, will my son or daughter have a job when they get out of school? And these are actual salaries from American side. These are actual statistics from the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. In 2014, there were 277,500 jobs nationwide, and it's predicted to grow by 200 to 290,000 jobs by 2024. So not only is mechanical engineering fun, but it pays well. So and there's a good potential. It's the number one engineering profession in the country, mechanical engineering, and even in this area, there's a lot of great companies. I'm going to talk in a little bit about our co-ops and internships and all that. But just trust me for now. Okay, so this is the finance and the jobs prospect, but I think here's the real reason you'd want to go into engineering. Why do you want to be an engineer? At a physics conference, are things made of stuff? At a philosophy conference, is stuff stuff? At an engineering conference, awesome stuff. Could it be more awesome? Giant laser, ultra space jets. And truly, to me, I'm 40 years old, but I'm still kind of a kid at heart. I love watching the SpaceX go up to the International Space Station and seeing all the different emerging technologies with, 3D printing and robotics and artificial intelligence and all that cool stuff. So definitely a fun profession. So you do have to work hard to get there, though. It's like, okay, sign me up today. I just want to be an engineer. So here I'm going to talk a little about the mechanical engineering curriculum, and here's how we have it structured at Wilkes. So it's structured for a 4-year program. So basically, your first couple semesters, 2, 3 semesters, you're taking a lot of similar classes to all the other engineering majors. So mechanical, electrical, environmental. They're all taking the calculus foundation courses, the physics foundation courses, your intro to statics, intro to electrical circuits devices. So for the most part, you could go 3 semesters without really having to pick a discipline. But I would say by fourth semester, that's when it really does break off. So pretty much everything you see in the fourth semester is unique to mechanical engineering. Um, Actually, environmentals, they also take strength of materials, but every other course, mechatronics, dynamics, thermodynamics, machining, those are all just unique to mechanical engineering. So I would say hopefully by end of your sophomore year, this would be spring sophomore year, you would have a handle as to which discipline you would like. So then when you get to fifth, sixth semester, we're starting to get into more upper level core classes. These are all still required. Mechanical engineering has several sub disciplines. So when you're working in the real world, you may be in the fluids, heat transfer, thermodynamics system, or you may be working in robotics and controls. Or my personal background is solid mechanics and design, engineering design. So, there's a lot of different niches. At Wilkes, we have the philosophy that we want to offer our students breadth and depth. So we want to give them breadth, and they'll get exposure to all these different disciplines: machine design, fluid mechanics, vibrations, heat transfer, and so forth and so on. But we also want to allow the students to get depth within a particular topic. So I can talk to the tech electives I teach. You'll see here by the time you get to seventh, eighth semester, there are tech electives. There's a science elective, a couple tech electives, free elective. So I teach advanced CAD, and I teach advanced machine design and inverse problems in mechanics. So these are all, if students say, oh, wow, I really like machine design, I want to learn more in depth. I want to learn about cams and gears and additive manufacturing and 3D printing. Or say someone takes material science course and they say, I want to learn more about nanotechnology or polymers. These are other tech electives they would have to choose from. So that's kind of how it's structured. So you see that a lot of the core classes are completed before senior year, and then your senior year is mainly left up to a couple core classes, but mainly the elective classes, as well as senior projects. That's another major course that I'm going to talk about. Senior Projects 1 is your fall semester. That's kind of working in a group and designing a product. And then Senior Projects 2 is your spring semester, where you're completing your design, building and testing your prototype. And all along, you're working with a dedicated project advisor to help guide you along the way. So Senior Projects is definitely one of my favorite things to be involved in. I've actually been the coordinator for the Senior Projects course the last few years, and it's been a blast. I love working with Senior Projects. I just love the innovative aspect of engineering and creating something new and helping these students come up with something on their own. There's also general education classes, and I'll talk about that in a second. So here's the overall flow chart, and I guess when I do this live, it's hard to explain everything. But if you're watching this on a video, you could just pause this and study a little more. And we can also get you physical copies of this if you request. But you can kind of see the flow chart. There's a sequence. Math 111 is Calculus 1. Math 112 is Calculus 2. Math 211 is differential equations. So you can kind of see you need to pass Calc 1 before you get into Calc 2. You need to pass Calc 2 before you get into Diff EQ. Same goes for your Physics 1 class, your Physics 2 class. I could talk just briefly to our mechanical engineering curriculum that we have. You need statics, which is the free body diagrams I was talking about previously, in order to learn about strength of materials, which is now you have a structure that's under a certain force. How do we calculate the stress, strain, deflection? And then which leads into machine design is, okay, well, now how do we design a system to interact with each other? And how do we procure which different types of materials are the best? And how do we consider cost versus quality versus time to build it? So you could kind of see the progression that these are all prerequisites to the next one in this series. The solid lines are prerequisites, which mean you absolutely have to pass Calculus 1 to get into Calculus 2. The dashed lines are co-requisites, which means that it's recommended that you take Calculus 2 before Physics 2, but if you absolutely need to take Calculus 2 the same semester as Physics 2, that's fine. And that actually helps students stay on track. Perhaps if they haven't come in with, they're not able to take Calculus 1 the first semester, and they need to start out with pre-calculus, They could still kind of keep going without losing any time and still graduate in 4 years. So kind of that's my little segue into where would you start with your math. So the math department has set the following criteria for a math placement test. And this will see if a student is ready for Calculus 1 their first semester. And that's the typical start in the flow chart I just talked about. Or if the placement is between 18 and 29 on the test, the student can start with pre-calculus, which is Math 100. And then he or she can take Math 111 semester 2, Math 112 either during that next summer or semester 3 and so forth, but they should still be able to graduate in 4 years, no problem. The more challenging one is if a student gets score below 18, and that's Math 94, which is college algebra. So that is a lot more challenging because a student won't be allowed, going back quickly here, the student won't qualify for chemistry that first semester, so then they would have to take it later on, and then that may push back when they could take physics and so forth. So it's highly recommended that if you didn't at least get into Math 100, you find a way to reschedule the placement test. As of the recording of this video, I'm not entirely sure how to do that remotely, but if you reach out to me, I'm sure I could find you the right information. Typically, it's during orientation weekend that students could reschedule to take it in Stark Learning Center, but most likely you'll be able to just do it online, retake it again, or you can reach out to someone directly in the math department. I'm going to talk about Math 94 in the next slide, so I'm going to just pause that thought for now. Let's go the other extreme. What if a student has passed the AP Calculus exam in high school and is offered the credits for it? Now they can elect to take Math 112, which is Calculus 2, right off the bat in semester 1. So the benefit of that is it opens up credits for a minor later on. And so that's good. It's really a decision a student has to make. I get advisees who say, well, yeah, I could take these AP Calculus credits, or should I just retake Calculus 1 in college to make sure I really understand it, probably get a 4.0, and I can't make that decision for you. But and we could talk more in our one-on-one meeting, but it really is the decision the student has to make. If you felt comfortable with Calculus 1, you said, yeah, I really understood it in high school, and I got a 4 or 5 on my AP exam, and I'm ready for Calc 2, great, go ahead and do that. Because, again, that opens up credits later on. Or if you say, no, I really would rather make sure I learned it so that I'm really good for Calc 2 my second semester, that's fine too. I'd be happy with either decision, whatever the student is comfortable with. Okay, so it's always a challenge to help advise students to still graduate in 4 years if they start out with Math 94. And my department, we really took this challenge to heart because we want to help our students succeed, and we don't want to say, oh, sorry, you guys stick around another semester, or worse yet, another year, right? So we sat down and we looked at the flow chart, and here's the typical flow chart, and we said, okay, well, where can we help the student if they can't take Math 111 right off the bat, they have to take Math 94 here, Math 100 there. How can we help them catch up? And this is the best plan we came up with, and actually it is doable in 4 years, truly. Now, there's going to be some summer classes involved, but that's mainly due to the fact that instead of taking Math 111, you have to take 2 extra math classes. You have to start with college algebra and then pre-calculus. So it's really not that much of a stretch that you'd have to take some summer classes along the way. So here's the plan. And again, you could work directly with your advisor to finalize this plan, but this is in general what we would recommend. You'd be still taking CAD, English composition, and first year foundations, which is what the other freshmen would be taking. But missing from this list would be the chemistry. So instead of that, you'd be taking a general education class. Then in your second semester, you could qualify for chemistry for engineers and the lab. Um, but then you wouldn't really qualify for any of the other typical classes on the flow chart, so you'd have to take 3 gen ed classes. So the good news is you'll get a lot of the gen eds out of the way. Then that summer, that's when you would really have to catch up. Take calculus, physics, and physics lab, which would be eight credits total. But then by the third semester, you're more or less back on track. Then you're back to Calc 2, and here's your physics classes. So anything in italics means it's deviates from the previous recommended sequence. So you could see how the third semester really lines up well. The only thing in italics is Calc 2. Fourth semester, you're mainly caught up, but you're taking 2 classes that the normal flowchart would have recommended for the second semester, which was scientific programming and material science. And then that second summer, you would take differential equations. And then that's pretty much it for summer classes. So really only 12 credits total in the summer. And then by the time you get to junior and senior year, you can see there's really not too many classes out of sequence. Multivariable calculus, which was a recommended fourth semester class, now it's taken fifth semester. Mechatronics, which was a sophomore class, now it's taken junior year. But other than that, everything else is back on track, and the students should be able to graduate on time. And then here's what the extended flowchart would look like, starting out with the college algebra track. So that's showcasing. Here's the extra summer courses along the way. Now I mentioned general education courses to elaborate a little more what that is. It's and pretty much every school does this, but here at Wilkes we have separated into 4 areas that every single student at Wilkes needs to know when they graduate, or at least have exposure to each area to make them well-rounded students, liberal arts education school. Area 1 is the humanities, so they would need 9 credits in English, history, philosophy, or foreign language. So basically 3 classes out of this area. Scientific world, this area 2 is met by just engineering courses. So students wouldn't have to worry about area 2. Area 3 is 6 credits, which is 2 classes. And I recommend that students take economics 102, and then they could choose one other class, either anthropology, political science, psychology, or sociology. And then the last area is visual and performing arts, so they would need 1 class, either art, dance, music, or theater. So it's really not that many gen ed classes if you think about it. 3 plus 2 plus 1, so that's 6 gen ed classes. In the typical flowchart, I'll just go back one last time here. You can kind of see how it's recommended to be spread out, maybe 1 a semester for the most part. Okay, so that should wrap up the gen ed. And then continuing talk about curriculum, we have the first year foundation class. Sorry to keep jumping back and forth, but here's your FYF 101. This is actually the only class that every incoming freshman needs to take at Wilkes. It's a class that's supposed to transition students from high school into college. So it has a lot of core principles that students need to understand. Oral skills, writing skills, diversity, critical thinking, and so forth. But how it's delivered is up to the instructor. So, there's classes on going global, and specifically, I teach a class. It's called engineering design. So that's why I bring it up in this talk. They strongly recommended for engineering majors. And here's the course description. Engineers are inventors who create something new and change the world. In this course, you will learn about the exciting and challenging career. The course will cover the evolution of engineering as a profession, as well as where it is going in the future, robotics, 3D printing, etc. There's hands-on projects for the students, such as building an earthquake-proof tower, having egg drop competition, and innovation is within your reach. So as of right now, there's only one section offered, unfortunately, but we do hope to expand that in the future. So if you have a chance to get into this class, great. You'll see me in the fall. If not, there's lots of other great classes to pick from. Just take a nice read at each course description and try to pick which one's most applicable to you and which one interests you the most. Sections do fill up, so you may not be guaranteed your first choice, but I know the FYF committee has done a great job at least trying to get students paired with one of their top 3 choices. I think over 90% of students get at least one of their top 3 choices. The only class that you can't opt in or out of is FYF 101Z, which is called Intelligence Applied, and this students would be assigned to this class and may not elect in or out of it. All right, so I'm going to pause the video here.